the reason or the purpose for today's session and Thursday's session is essentially we've been picking up that there are issues around the how CollabUltra is being not just trained, but also how sessions are being set up and how students are trying to access the CollabUltra sort of sessions that are in place. So it seems to be a matter of training as well as understanding of Collaborate. So instead of us trying to negotiate the distance lecturers specifically, because they are the main users of CollabUltra, although it is used in the face-to-face space, distance is obviously the main sort of audience or target market of the tool. So instead of us trying to target those lecturers sort of en masse, I thought when I discussed with Grant and Joe that it would be probably better to talk to you guys first to ensure that we as a team understand cohesively what it is, what CollabUltra is, how to set it up, as well as how to train it in the most appropriate manner. So what we thought is, let's split the sessions, split CollabUltra into two sections. First, looking at the setup and sort of the navigation around it, which is what Joe and I are going to be looking at. And we did put up an agenda. I don't know if you all saw it today. Just give me a thumbs up or put up your hand, all of you, if you've seen the agenda. Cool. All right, you can take your hands down. So that's what we're looking today, is looking at the sort of setup and navigation. And then on Thursday, Grant's going to look at the tools and how those can be used in online mediation. So we're going to approach it in the way of using more of a hands-on. There are some PowerPoints that we've created, both Joe and I, but I prefer to try and do more direct, so show you rather than doing PowerPoint, because I believe that's a better process of doing things. So please stop me and ask. As soon as I start going live, that means I don't see any chat. So Joe, when I'm showing live, you're going to have to monitor the chat, and vice versa. I'll do the same for you. Okay.
Okay, will do.
Okay, great. So I just want to quickly see if my I can quickly get my application. Actually, just get that for you guys. All right, so looking at setting up a session, let's first look at the requirements. I know we've experienced some problems in the recent past. There was some problems, I know, with Pretoria around issues around the PowerPoint, if I'm correct. And Roseanne, did you report some issues around PowerPoint?
One of my lecturers who had an issue with PowerPoint, but he hasn't had an issue since, I don't think. Yeah.
Okay, just so that you are aware, both Joe and I, well, Joe has shared PowerPoint just now, and she didn't have any issues whatsoever. So just so that you are aware of that wasn't any problem. And I'm I'm going to see just now if there's any problem. Cancel that. Mine is
That was the problem that I had, was that I couldn't replicate it.
Oh, you couldn't replicate the
You
problem.
know, I couldn't have that same problem. Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
could
so
see the
it's
problem.
a bit of an anomaly. But I don't think he's had any
problem since. Okay, well, let's monitor that as it goes, because
I haven't seen the problem since, no.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just monitor him. If you see it again, just try and see if you can take screenshots and let us know, because, as I say, Joe just uploaded now and there was no problem whatsoever. And unfortunately, I mean, I was going to upload my PowerPoint, but as I say, I was working between my desktop and my laptop, so I haven't managed to do that as yet. But let's just see how it goes. So, things to be aware of. We also were aware that there were some issues around the Chrome version, so we pulled back a version to Chrome version 5. That specifically was because we found that any higher versions, namely 76 and anything up, seem to be causing some issues with sound. And I can testify to that I've definitely lost all sound on my desktop, hence the fact that it's actually gone even a step further, that I actually can't even load the interface for CollabUltra going on any higher version of Chrome. So there is definitely some sort of clash, if you will, between the Chrome versions and CollabUltra. So obviously there must be something that Black will be addressing with this, because they cannot obviously function like that, because it's not something it's not a South African issue, it's not an IE issue, this is a global issue. So we've pulled back to version 75, and that seems to have held us back and resolved our issue with this. So another aspect to be aware of is that Chrome uses Web Rtc in terms of how it sort of processes. It's basically Web Rtc as a protocol in terms of how it processes audio and video. And this is quite important to explain to both lecturers and even students if you want. But it explains things in terms of how it, if you understand how internet works, internet sends packets to and from, and not necessarily in order, and obviously it's at very fast speeds. So it will send your request and the answer back in packets. Now, when you are looking at a video or listening to audio, or sometimes a video obviously has both, it is sending back packets backwards and forwards at a very rapid pace. Now, Web Rtc is the protocol that sends the order of that audio and video and says the priority of that audio and video, because you might be watching or listening to like we are doing right now. We're going to be looking at a screen. You're probably seeing the content folder of our CollabUltra training session, and you're listening to my voice. But we are sitting on the IE server, which obviously sits in Amsterdam. So there's a whole lot of other traffic that's going on. There are students that are going on to learn. There are assignments maybe being submitted, and so on. But the Web Rtc protocol sets priority on that. It's saying, hang on, there's a CollabUltra session going on. We need to therefore put priority on this session over any other traffic that is on the IE server, so that there is no delay in the audio and the video. Does that make sense, what I've just explained? Please don't say I've lost you guys. And just remember, I can't see the chat.
Yeah, we're still here. That's great.
Yeah,
okay.
Fully following.
Makes sense, Sonia, no problem.
Okay, thanks. You guys are going to have to engage with me, because I mean, I really am. I'm looking at a content folder, and that's all I see right now. I am going to mute at the moment. Hold on. Sorry. So when we come to setting up a CollabUltra session, you need to try and explain to your lecturers or your OTs that we are trying to explain, and this is where I'd like to show this this PowerPoint. Let's just see if I can set that PowerPoint that I had. 2 seconds. Right, let's just put this in play. Okay, hold on. Oh man. Ugh. Are you seeing the screen properly?
Yes, so we can see the presentation, cars moving and everything. It's pretty cool.
Okay. So
Yes,
imagine VC Learn as that building. Okay, so that's your building, and VC Learn is the building, and the roads around it is the internet leading into the server. Okay. So there's our VC Learn, and we have different connections leading into VC Learn. So we might have a networked LAN, we might have fiber, ADSL, we might have mobile, or we might have a home dial-up. Depending on the different connections, that obviously depends on the device as well as what the student or the lecturer has available to them. And that obviously also dictates the kind of experience that the student or the lecturer will have. So when we enter into that building, that's obviously us signing in or logging into VC Learn, and then we obviously then decide we want to then either go into a module, which would then be deciding on going into well, then into a lecturer room, right? But when we're looking at CollabUltra, we need to then decide, then we need to consider, am I setting up a session versus a room? And this is where most of the confusion is coming in, because I've often heard lecturers or OTs saying, my students said, I set up my session, but my students didn't pitch, or I was there, but the students were there and we never saw each other. And that's because there's been this confusion around the session versus this room. Now, here we need to take be very careful about looking at, sorry, I'm just going to go skip this part, is looking at thinking of the lecture room being the session. Okay, so the room is sort of more like the like the module, if you will, whereas the session, okay, here it is. The lecture room is the lecture room, but the session is I'm booking a part of time within the lecture room. So I'm in session. That's probably a better way to look at it. And they need to make sure that they have the right URL when they do that. And this is very, very, very important to make sure that they get this right, because each time they book a session, they get a new URL. Okay. Where room will always have the same URL constantly for the module, and that will stay throughout the entire semester. Okay. Does it make sense now?
Yeah, that's great, Son.
Okay. So when I go into CollabUltra, and let's just say I'm in my module, and this is my room now. I now need to then create and book a session. So then I would click on the sessions, and sorry, I would create session, and I would get this little pop-up block over here, and I would write in whatever the session would be. It would be training session, and I'd have my start date. Now, what is very important to explain to your lecturers is to avoid this anonymous dial-in, because you will see it starts with 44. What is missing there is 0044. So what is happening is, if the students use this dial-in, they're actually phoning the United Kingdom. In addition to the fact that they're phoning the United Kingdom, there's a premium to this. So I think it's something like £2 per minute or something ridiculous. And they are paying, I know it's not £2, but I know it's a whack amount of money that they pay. And the IE, if I remember correctly, Jason at ETSU had mentioned that one student had been duped by accident and got given some stupid amount of money on his mobile phone, because he had phoned in using his mobile phone, and was really irate about this because he felt that he should have been warned about it. So my suggestion is to just either try and delete it or something, just try and avoid it, or just to make sure that lecturers just warn the students, or just make sure no one just is aware of this. The key is to make sure that the lecturers are aware of the guest role and guest link. Now, this is how the link that the lecturers use to invite the students. They can either just click on it and go Command C on a Mac or Control C on a PC, or they can use these boxes to do the copy. Okay, you can change the role for the guests to either presenter or moderator. And Joe will explain later how you can change individuals to moderator or presenter. Like I could have changed Joe in the session. She's already done it herself, but I could have changed her to presenter or moderator in the session, which she's going to explain that just now. So you could just copy this, and then you could send that via an announcement in the module that it's relevant to, and send that also to other modules. So if the OT is lecturing 3 modules on the same code, but different, obviously, groups, instead of having different collaborate sessions, you could have just one collaborate session, use the same guest link, and just send an announcement to the other module groups. Here you have your event details. And it's very important to be very careful about the end date. A lot of them might have no end, and it just goes looping endlessly. The problem with that is that then you have a problem with your recording, okay? Because it'll say training session all the time. So just note that. So I would rather say end it, and rather have a repeat session. Okay. I prefer to have my session start 30 minutes before start time, purely because students like to maybe ask questions beforehand. I like to also be able to make sure everything I can get in and maybe upload things ahead of time. But again, that's a preference. It's up to the lecturer or the OT. It's also recommended to provide maybe a brief description. Is it a lecture? Is it a workshop? Is it a tutorial? Is it a training session? What is this session really all about? And then you have your session settings. This is probably one of the most important things to tick is to allow the recording downloads. If you don't allow it, then students can only view the recording. They can't download the recording unless they use some kind of tool to do the recording, to download the recording. So I don't know if you can see my mouse. Can you see my mouse, guys?
Yes, we can see your mouse.
Okay, so next to my URL bar, I've got a red stop sign kind of thing, then I've got a green tick, and then I've got a film reel. That's my Chrome video download button. So it helps me do video downloads. So if this hadn't been ticked, I know I could have used this as an option. I don't know if a lot of students are aware of these kind of extensions that browsers offer. So just tell OTs about this, that they need to be aware that they have to allow that, unless they are for some reason stipulating that they're not going to allow downloads for their students. These are also incredibly important to ensure that the students are able to talk, so share their audio and share their video. This is also important to be able to chat messages. However, this part is probably one of the things that they might not want to share, and that's to draw on the whiteboard and the files. Because as soon as they have that selected, then students are able to, if the lecturer's got a whiteboard going, then the students are able to start interfering with the whiteboard, or if there's files going, then the students are able to start moving the files forwards or backwards. And this is the part where I was talking about the telephone. I would deselect the telephone so that they aren't able to use that telephone number, because honestly, I wouldn't risk that bill coming up. And then the last two, I just leave blank, because I don't believe in allowing students to chat privately with the moderator unless there's a reason for it. The students have got email access, so you can always email the moderator or the presenter. And moderators to supervise all private chats. I mean, that's like if you've don't trust your students. I really don't think it's like Big Brother watching. But again, that's an OT or a lecturer decision to make. And then once that's decided, you would select save, and then you would have your session. I'm not going to do that. So no, actually, let me do that so that I've got it. Did I put a name? Yeah. And then I would say save. And you would find that it goes right to the bottom, and it says it's in progress because it went to for today. I realize I made a mistake, so I can go to the extreme right and I get my options. I can either join the session, edit the session, view reports, delete the session, or I can copy the guest link here if I forgot to copy it. I want to edit the session settings, and I want to quickly make it for tomorrow instead of today. And I want to save. And again, it'll go back to tomorrow. You'll see it's not yet started now. And then I realize I don't have enough attendees, so I decide I'm going to now delete the session. It is important to be able to view reports, so I'm just going to see. I want to be able to look at previous sessions. Just actually look at sessions. Okay. I'm going to look at all previous sessions. And I want to see how many people attended. So I'm going to view a report. Please note, I said all previous sessions. And I view the report. Okay. So you just give your date range. And I can see then how many people attended. Okay. And you can view the report. Are there any questions? Yes, no?
So there's nobody in the chat asking anything and nobody's opening their mic. Come on, guys. Everybody all right?
Okay. All right, then I'm going to hand it over to Joe.
Thanks, Sonia.
Sure thing, Joe.
Okay, guys, I'm going to take up where Sonia left off. Once you have created the session, you'll have to send it off to your students in some way. So the lecturer must please use a format such as announcements or the email link to email the students that guest link that Sonia was talking about. Because I think this is where a lot of the confusion comes in, where the lecturer just assumes the students know to go to Collab, to the Collaborate Ultra link on the VC menu and just click on it and then go to the session. If they click on that link, they will find the course room where the black cross is, and that course room mustn't be clicked on because that is, as Sonia said, the one that exists for the whole module. Each session must have its own little link, and you could just do that. So please tell your lecturers to email that link in an announcement to each of these students. They can also, if they've got multiple modules, they can email one guest link to all of their modules if they're having one collab session for all the groups. They are allowed to do that as well if they're doing the sessions on the same date. Okay. Next, once the students get that link, they'll click on it and they will come into Collab as you are in Collab now. And this is called the space in this. What you're looking at on screen is the media space. And we're going to look at all the little features and functions that exist. Please interrupt me as we go. Just chat.
I'll let you know, Joe, if there's anything in the chat.
Son.
Okay.
Okay. In front of you, top right corner, where my mouse is now, where it says stop sharing because I am sharing my screen, there's normally a little change view mode. So if I wasn't sharing, you'd see all the little image boxes. The view you're looking at now is the follow the speaker view. So you can change it. So whoever's speaking will take up most of the screen, and then the other little profile pics will be along the bottom. So you can use that view in the session. On the top left, your session menu. The session menu are those things that you use infrequently during a session. That's where you start and stop the recording, you leave the session, and other little details. So those are the three lines at the top left. Bottom right is your Collaborate panel. It's the purple button. And if you should all have your Collaborate panel open now, but I'll start sharing my screen in a minute as soon as I've stopped going through all of this, and then we'll explore the panel itself. At the bottom of your screen is what they call the interaction bar. It's got your little avatar, so an image, and please tell your lecturers to upload a little image of themselves. Sharing video is a bit data heavy in South Africa, so they don't have to share their face, but at least share a picture of themselves. Then the audio control, the video control, and then the raising hands and lowering hand icon. Also, on the little profile pic, you know, the little green cross, I want all of you just to test it. Click on the green cross and you'll see more options here. And you can also tell your students, or you can tell the lecturers to tell their students that they can use that as a way to communicate quickly. They can put happy faces, sad faces, confused, go faster, go slower, agree or disagree, or they are away at the moment. So that's a really fun way for the student to communicate quickly with the lecturer while they're in session. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now so we can continue and go through each of the little panels live. Let's see how this works. I get an infinity sometimes when I share, so let's see how it works. Can you all see what I'm sharing?
Yes, Joe, just started.
How about the infinity thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see.
Well, we can still see sort of what's happening. So at the bottom, this is on the little avatar. Like I said, you can go away, you have to leave. You can leave from here as well. Happy, sad, agree, disagree. So when your lecturer comes into the session, this is kind of what they need to tell their students in the first session that they set up. The next most important thing that they need to tell the students, top left, show view controls. See where I've clicked on the screen? The student can individually maximize, so they can zoom into the screen or zoom out or make it full screen. So if the lecturer is showing a PDF, sometimes it's tiny, and each student needs to manage that view because it's his personal view only. Okay, so if you go actual size, that's what it'll look like, best fit size, or you can zoom in and zoom out. So another thing that the lecturer must tell the students when they first start their Collaborate sessions, just to make the student really comfortable and able to manage their own space while they're in session. Okay, that's pretty clear. Questions about that? Nope. Awesome. Then your Collaborate panel. So open it up. Your chat bubble, your attendees, that's the share application that we're on, and the settings. So normally for first session, your lecturer would take the student to the settings button, because this is where they can manage their in-session settings. So if they're having video, or audio problems, this is where they'll come and fix it. Notification settings. I, as a moderator, have more options here, but the students need to manipulate their session settings as well. And then if you click on session settings, this is where I can see what's up for moderators, but the students can actually check on what they're allowed to do and set up their camera and microphones. Also, this is where they will add their profile pics. So I see some of you haven't got profile pics up. So you should all go and do that now. Click on the little avatar and upload. Only Grant's got his picture. If they click capture photo camera, it will take a picture of them from their webcam. So that's also a really cool little trick on their phone. So students love that. So this is like all first session stuff. So let's pick a really horrid picture of me and upload. Do a little. You can all see this, can you? And there we go.
We can.
And save. So have you all done your profile pics? Not yet. Is anybody having a problem with adding profile pics? Because we were having an issue at some point, but I haven't heard it reported for some time now. Okay. Everybody happy? Profile pics up? Not. Okay, guys, let's go through the chat panel. Everybody knows the chat. You can use little icons, the emojis, or just say something. At the top, there's an everyone. If we'd enabled for private chat, on this section here, you'd be able to see that you can just chat to the moderator or just chat to the students. So where I'm clicking, is everybody seeing this where I'm clicking? The moderators can chat to each other because there are 2 moderators in session, or we can chat to everyone. If we enabled private chat, it would be here as well, that you'd see private chat. You could find somebody to chat to. If I want to chat to Roseanne, there I'd find Roseanne, and then I'd be able to chat to her in that space. So the little arrow at the top is where you manage that space. Okay, back to everyone. There's your chat. Next, let's get the attendee panel. Most people think this is what's the point, but here you can see who's connected, how good their connection is. So I can, when I'm watching, I can see who's about to leave the session and who's not. And here is also where you can make people, you can promote them. So the little ellipse, those 3 dots to the far right of each name, I can do private chats, I can make you moderators, presenters, or captioners. Now, a moderator has full control of the session. I wouldn't make a student a moderator, that might be a bit dangerous. A presenter just has control to be able to add files and present them in the space and use the whiteboard. And then a captioner, all their job is to type what is being said. So like keep minutes and then they appear on screen. And you can make more than one person a caption in the session, especially if you've got different languages for the big internationals. And then you can also remove your students from the session if they're being disruptive. That would be fun. Okay, so that's where that happens. Now, sometimes when you've got a lot of students in the space, you want to actually watch all your attendees and see the chat. And at the top, next to attendees' name, you have more options. And you can actually, okay, mute all is a good option from here, but you can detach the panel. So if you click on detach panel, it pops another panel out with all my attendees. I can watch who's doing what. I can make people captioners, change them to presenters, or do whatever, and I can still see my chat. Guys, can you see this double screen in front of you? I'm talking away merrily, and nobody's saying a word.
Yes, I can.
That's good.
Okay. So this is useful when you've got lots of peeps in, and especially when Grant does his session on Thursday, when you're putting them into groups, you can watch the attendee list and you can know which attendee is in which group, and you've got both panels. To put it back, you can just drag and drop it, or just click on the ellipse again and merge it back into the space. Next, the little button, share content. We all know about this, the blank whiteboard. I'm not going to go through it in detail. If you share the blank whiteboard, you will see. Can you all still see? Great. And here are your pen and rubber controls, and select, and your shapes. So you can highlight text, you can draw, and remember at this stage your students can as well, if you've enabled whiteboard interaction with them, okay, while you're sharing it. So whiteboard, you can click on then and go and share applications, which is what I'm doing. I hope I'm still sharing applications. And you have options. You can share your entire screen, an application of your choice. So if you've got a document or a diagram that you want to show in the background, you can just select that as long as it is open. So always open whatever you want to share before you start your session. And then any Chrome tab that I've got open, I can skip to any website that is open that I want to share with the students. Okay. And then the share files option. Always upload your files before you start sessions. So make sure the lecturers understand PowerPoints, images, PDFs. Those are the only documents that you can upload. And when you do, you simply add and browse from your desktop. and then it'll take a couple of seconds to upload, and then you still have to activate that. So you have to click on whichever document you want to share, and then click on the black bar at the bottom that says share now. And then again, click on the slide that you want to share. So you can manipulate the slides from the right panel, or underneath the slides themselves there are arrows that you can manipulate the slideshow through. I love the pictures. Roseanne, good picture. Okay, so we've been through all of these.
Sorry, it's the only one I have, really.
Lovely picture of you, girl. So we've been through all of these. The little functions on how to manipulate each of your setting keys, and these are in session settings. So guys, any questions about this? I'm going to stop sharing now. Does anybody have any questions at all?
Jo, I just had Catherine Young speak to me about adding a video, playing a video, and I just tried, and I just suggested to share her screen that was playing the video, rather like that you couldn't add a video file. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
No, you're quite correct. We can't upload a video, but you can, yes, you can share. As we went through, you can actually share the application or screen and make sure it's open on a Chrome tab or YouTube or whatever, and then share that space. And then you can play the video.
That's exactly what I did.
I have tested it and it did work if it's embedded in your PowerPoint. So you've literally downloaded the video and embedded it into your PowerPoint. It will play through Collab, but only under those circumstances. It won't play through a link unless you're sharing your screen.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll let her know. I'll let everyone know, really.
Correct. Okay, any more questions? Guys, I hope that helps when you're training your lecturers. There are those few points. If you like, I'll share the PowerPoint with you, just sort of, it's not very long, but at least it gives you some guidance when you're training your lecturers. Thanks, I'm done then, unless anybody else has any questions.
No, I'm also done. I think what we can do is maybe merge those, put it in the content collection. Everyone's got access to the collaborate session, so they should be able to access the PowerPoints from the collaborate sessions, right?
Yes, and then I think we should also upload to Teams maybe all our training videos on the Teams. Yeah.
Well, we should actually also be uploading to DigiKnow.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about DigiKnow, sorry to interrupt, but we don't have instructor controls to DigiKnow, so I can't do anything there. Yeah, when we actually join the organization, we all join that.
Okay, I'll fix that. All right, guys. I'm glad that we managed to do it within an hour rather than an hour and a half. I'm not sure how long Thursday will be, but I think Thursday might be a bit longer than today. Grant, any idea?
Hi guys, can you hear me, by the way? Because I've disconnected a dozen times on this call.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I hope you can. Okay. Yeah, I don't know yet. I suppose it'll be an hour. That's my target. It's going to be as interactive kind of style like this as well. So we'll kind of just go straight into it.
Okay.
But I'll try for an hour, ideally. I think that works best for everyone. So yeah.
Okay, I would set an hour and a half aside, but if you can an hour, obviously everyone is pressured for time.
Okay, no problem, Sonia. Okay, I'll put it. Let me see how it goes. But yeah, sure. Okay. Got it.
Cool.
Okay, thanks.
All right, guys.
Sonia and Joe.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we'll see everyone on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Thanks, Sonia. See you then.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, done.
No, yeah, it's recording.
Okay, sorry.
I'm gonna
All
mute
right. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, let's start. So thanks everyone for joining. And of course, this is the kind of session 2 or part 2 of the training, continuing from what Sonia and Joe started the other day. The focus of what we're going to do today is more on maybe the things you would do in the actual lesson, the more interactive controls and ways to manage an online session with your class, and yeah, and then what tools are available and how to use them. So I'm going to mostly focus on sharing my screen and showing you how we go through each of these different tools. The first mostly being what's called the share content panel. Okay, and we're going to go through those things, and afterwards moving on to moderation controls, and then on to audio and video and that type of troubleshooting at the end. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just share my screen, and I hope it will load soon. Okay, I'm going to try. I think I'm generally going to be able to see messages coming in, but yeah, if you do want to speak or put hand up or type or whatever, I'll try and see it. But if I don't, there we go. Inez, thank you. Is that a question, Inez, or was it just putting in?
No, Grant.
Yes,
What I'll do is I'll do the same as what Joe and I did. Is I will check messages and I will say that what has happened and let you know. So I'll monitor them.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, Sonia. And Inez, did you say something there? Or?
I wanted to ask this, but I wasn't on on Tuesday's session. Why does the screen go into infinity, or why does it do that? I had a lecturer that asked me that once. I couldn't answer her.
I said, well, I guess you're seeing my whole screen, which has my whole screen in it, and continues like that. Yeah. So it's almost unavoidable in a way, because I'm seeing what you're seeing and you're seeing my screen. If that makes sense.
It's called cascading.
Yeah. Does that help? I don't know.
It's like that movie Perception, when you're in a dream and a dream and a dream and a dream. So that's fine. Okay, thanks.
Inception. Yeah. All right. Okay, so you can see my screen here, and you can see, okay, there you are as your participants, and I can see that Thierry's internet for some reason is not that good. Okay, it's getting better. But we're going to focus on this panel, and this share content panel down at the bottom. Okay, so we've got sharing a blank whiteboard, sharing an application or a screen, which is what I'm doing now, sharing files. Okay, and these are the files. You see, these are the files that were shared yesterday as well, on the one that I had. Okay, but we'll go into that in a bit more detail. Polling, a timer, as well as then breakout groups. Okay, so when I share a whiteboard, what's going to happen is those that are on the moderator list, which would be Joe, Sonia, and myself, will see more options. We'll see options to stop it and to draw on it, etc. I think you might be able to draw on it too. But when you click on this, you'll see the whiteboard appear now for all of you. Can you draw on it? And if you can, just draw on it. Let's see, if we're using the controls at the top, there should be a pencil and a shapes. Ah, good. Oh, good. I think that says hi. That's a scribble. Good. Okay, yeah. So you've got those controls, and these are things we can, when I go through the moderator controls, you'll see then how I can, maybe prevent you from doing that or give you the ability to present and so on. From our side, I also have a stop sharing, kind of a stop button in the top right as well, that if I wanted to stop doing this. But of course, you can see that there's text and an actual text tool to say hello. So that was me, right? Some shapes if you want to make a nice circle or an oval there, right? And this would, of course, be more powerful if we had a tablet or something plugged in that you could actually write more neatly with. Probably this could be more useful in accounting types of classes and so forth. But the same also exists when you are sharing a slide or a PDF. If you do want to annotate on it live, or if you want to get others to write on your PDF or slide, you can do it like this as well, right? Okay, so probably if I'll go back, and if I had to share that first slide, let's bear with me quickly. Okay, so if I had to share this, I'd imagine you could write on it as well. Could someone test it? Are you able to scribble on that slide? Yeah, okay. So I mean, from a more teaching and pedagogical perspective, I suppose if you had content on here and you wanted your students to highlight something or circle things or give their own contributions, it's another way of doing it. All right. So that's kind of the share screen / I suppose the files. I'm going to just stop that now. Okay. And now we're all back to seeing each other. Okay. The share application and screen, and I suppose, funny enough, in talking about Inception, I'm going to be sharing my screen to show you how to share a screen. It should come up soon. Okay, there we go. Right, so you'll have then on the right side this box here, okay, share application or screen, and when you select it, you'll see you can share your entire screen, and if you do have a second screen plugged in, it will give you that option, and that's actually the best way to do this, because then you can monitor what you're doing on one screen and share the content on the other. It's a bit easier from a managing your session kind of perspective. You can also share application windows. Okay, so I could share Teams or Word files and so forth that you have open, and even a Chrome tab. All right, so this is quite nice to demo what's going on. If you want to play videos, I know this has come up with questions I've had from lecturers who've tried to show videos through the browser while sharing their screen. It doesn't work very well, mostly from an audio perspective. All right, so it's not as though the audio pulls through; it's only the video, if that makes sense. All right, so you'd rather share the URL to a video and have students watch it individually. It's quite tough to share videos live through your screen. All right, but I selected that, and then I selected share. Right, and then we got this kind of our Inception effect. All right, so while we're on the screen sharing, we can go on to the file sharing side. Okay, so these were the files, I guess, that were uploaded on Tuesday. Right, and then this is the one that I uploaded now today. So if you select this, right, and you say share now, and I don't think it's going to take me off the sharing screen just yet, although I could be wrong. It's going to take me to a view where I could see the individual slides or the individual pages of a PDF. And then through selecting that individual page, I'd be able to control what you're seeing on screen. All right, so let me just see if it will. Oh, good. Okay. So you can see that is slide 1, and if I click on it, it's going to go to that, and you're no longer going to be seeing this panel itself, right? And slide 2, slide 3, and slide 4, and however many you have, right? Okay, so if I had to click on this now, it's going to immediately goodbye the screen sharing, and it's going to go to the slides itself. Okay, and you see your scribbles are no longer there. Okay, so it's all been removed, all of the annotations that were made on it. Okay, so just bear that in mind, that if you wanted to go off a slide and then go back onto it, any annotations that might have been made by students or yourself will no longer be there. All right, and similarly, if I wanted to change to another slide, okay, which was just showing what we would be doing in the beginning. All right, so from here, and if I had to use this slide then, there is a pointer at the top left. We've dealt mostly with this. We've done our sharing files, and we've done using the whiteboard. Now we'll go back onto polling. So let me go, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. And please do let me know, raise hands, etc., questions, or Sonia can manage them. Just so I don't feel like I'm talking too much to myself. All right, from here, all good. Thanks, Sonia. Okay, so you'll have this option here of polling. All right, and it gives you two options. It gives you a multiple choice and a yes and no selections. Okay, and this is always a very good way to interact with classes, especially if people don't want to use their mics or otherwise, right? To actually ask maybe a yes no question and say, you know, do you understand so far? Might not be the best question to ask pedagogically, but okay, do you understand so far? Yeah, right. And it's okay, yes and no. Now it started, and it's going to pop up at the bottom of your screen and mine. So go ahead and okay, I'm glad no one's lost. 4 responses. You can see your answers to the responses. So I suppose there's our inception thing again. All right. All right. And 2 people, no response, are potentially, I don't know, not having connection issues maybe, or something like this. And you can see now when I went on to the participants, I can actually see who it was. So Sonia hasn't replied, for example. Okay. And obviously myself. So let me do that. There's me. Okay. And there's Sonia says she doesn't understand. Okay. And so, you know, you can gauge pretty easily who's engaged, who isn't. It is a good way, and I know this was used during our Blackboard training, to see who potentially had dozed off or just logged on and was busy on some other work. It is quite a good way to gauge that type of understanding as well. All right. I can hide the responses. So now, supposedly on your screen, you won't see the responses, but of course you can see them on the shared screen, right? And I could clear those results and I'll stop the poll. Similarly, going back to the polling is the multiple choice. Okay, so understandably now you could add your own options. If I had that same one of do you still understand? And maybe here we put a yes, here we put a no, and here we put a I am not sure. And we spot that. Now you've got your 3 options that will appear with much the same interface. And Sonia's not sure, Joe doesn't understand, and hopefully other people do. Right. Okay. So a nice way to gauge understanding online, as well as get a bit of interaction and response. Right. Yeah. So generally quite good for. Let me stop it there. And you see those results are gone. And good for encouraging some participation and engagement. Otherwise, these sessions can get a bit boring as well. Sonia, hand up.
It's nice also to get your silent learners to engage in that section. Those students that don't like to speak up, using polling is a nice way to get them to engage without them having to speak out. So it's just something to add to that.
Yeah, it's it's like, I suppose, if you're using these other tools, Slido or Mentimeter or these types of things, as well, to encourage those that prefer to rather not speak out in class. Then can you create polls beforehand? No.
But you can have them ready. Sorry, Grant.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
You can have them ready on a Word doc and just have them ready to just copy and paste, Roseanne, so that just you copy from the Word doc straight into your poll.
And I know if you do start it and then you can stop it and resume and things, but it's not quite the same. The only thing you can preload as such would be those the files, like as those are still here from 2 days ago, but otherwise not. Okay. Okay, now I was debating how to show this, because we've got to go onto breakout groups, and so what we can do is put you all in a breakout group. Yeah, and so you'll actually see, and I think we probably have enough. We can just split into 2 breakout groups. As the moderator, or if you have moderator status in this session, you'll be able to go in and pop your head into each of these groups, and to get an update, and then bring the groups back and control how they are managed. Right now, to do so, we can see it's already kind of pre-populated it. So if I had to leave it like this, Gavin, Inez, and Roseanne, you'd be in group 1, and Jacinta and Thierry, you'd be in group 2. And your discussions that you'll now have in those groups, the moderators, if I had to, and maybe I can even move maybe I don't know, Sonia, do you want to stay in the main group? I can put you maybe into group 1, and Joe, I'll put you into group 2. All right, so there we go. You won't be able to hear each other's groups. You'll have your own private discussions, and then afterwards we'll bring you back, and then you'll be with the whole group. So again, quite a useful tool for effectively group work. That's what you're doing here. All right, so if it's fine, I'll put you in the group and maybe just wait for 15 seconds so that all the internet can catch up with us and that you're properly in your group, because you'll see it will say that you're now joining and you're moving in and out, and then I'll bring you back. Okay. And when you are in your groups, you will have the ability to share your own files and almost have moderator controls within your group. All right. Okay, so if we're all good, I'm gonna start it, and then I'll bring you back, and then you can experience somewhat of what it would be like. Okay. All right, let's go for that, and I'll bring you back in 20 seconds or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see you guys are coming back. Just remember your mic, some of yours might be on. I think we're all back. Okay, have a quick look. Okay, yeah, so you would have seen in that it's almost a little bit strange, because you end up in your own group with the few people that you are, and you can't interact with anyone else until you're brought back. A very nice way then to work collaboratively. I know during the Blackboard training as well, it was used that each of us got our own kind of problems to solve. We're given some time to do so, and then we're brought back to, and a leader of that group would give feedback then to everyone else back in this main room, or this main group. How does the switch group option work? Is it from your own side if you wanted to switch groups?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, in other words, if I had to almost allow this, that you would be.
So would there be an option in my breakout group to leave?
Yeah, you'd have free reign to move to other groups. So it's a little bit probably counterintuitive, but it might be useful in some situations. But if you, as the lecturer, want to force allocate, then you'd leave that off, but which it is by default.
Thanks. So that would be for if lecturers wanted students to choose their own groups, really.
Yeah, I guess that could be a good way to do it. I think it might be a bit better to do it beforehand, because once if you allocate everyone into a group and then they're not happy, I think it would be quite an interesting shuffle going on between the groups. It would be rather interesting to see, but I think it's easier almost now if I had to say, okay, who would want to be in group 1 and 2, and just split accordingly, because then I can just move you around.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's probably better, because of where people would end up, and I'm not sure so many people coming and going into a group. I've never seen it done, but it might be interesting. Cool, no problem. Okay, and all right. The one thing I should have, I thought would have been a good opportunity to do is actually to have done the timer at the same time. But I only realized when I said I'd bring you back already, so it didn't really work. Now, if you had to, I think the minimum is 30. This idea of starting a timer, Now, often this is used in the breakout group situation, because then in each breakout group, you're going to see the timer. Okay, so it really is a best practice thing, because then you'll have an idea of, okay, we have 5 minutes left, 2 minutes left, and so on, before the lecturer or the moderator is going to bring you back to the main room. Okay, because as I did it now, you had no idea. I said 10 or 20 seconds, but you know, it's a bit disorientating if you're working on something and you've almost got no contact with the outside world in that group. So typically a timer is used. All right, so to set one up, again, we obviously on the share content, we click on the timer, and you could choose, I don't know, 5 minutes. Okay, you could put a timer here. You could say it's an example timer. Countdown down or up. I mean, typically it's going to count down is better than counting up, because you're not always sure then how much time remains necessarily, and who can see it, only as moderators or everyone. From my experience, it's been everyone. I haven't heard of lecturers wanting to do it another way. All right, and if I say start, you'll see the little timer appear at the bottom with example timer. Okay. No, yeah. When you go into breakout groups, this is generally a good idea to start this if you're the moderator. Right. Okay. And then you can hide it as well if you do wish to hide it from those, or show it, and then our little stop button here to stop, or it says dismiss the timer. All right. Okay. So now we're going to move off the share content. If there's any questions, just ask about regarding the share content. Otherwise, I'll move on to moderator controls. Okay, so these are the powers that you'll have as a moderator. Okay, let me go here. If I had to show these, here you are as attendees. Okay, you can see that the moderators, it's myself and Joe and Sonia, and then we've got our participants, right? And you can see as a moderator, I see your connection status and other things. And I can click on here and I can see what the status of your connection is. So you can see Gavin's having trouble for some reason. All right, how bad is it, etc. But what you won't be able to do is have these options as a participant to give people different powers. Okay, so of course I could kick Gavin out of the session. I wouldn't want to do that. I could send him a chat message private. Could make him a moderator, presenter, or captioner. All right. So if I wanted to make Gavin a presenter, see now he'll go into his own little group, okay, where he has the power to control now the slides that I'm sharing. Okay. Similarly, if I had to put Inez as maybe make you a moderator, okay, you also now get the same powers, if I could call it that we have. So you would effectively be able to stop my screen from sharing, right? Gavin, I don't think you would be able to do that at the moment, but you would be able to if I made you a moderator. Okay, I suppose we could for demonstration. We could make everyone moderated. I'll make Gavin. I'll make you one now as well. And there we go, moderator. Okay, so you should see more controls available to you. Particularly, you should be seeing, for example, the ability to stop sharing. Okay. Do we? Can I get just maybe raise your hand if you can see that? It's difficult for me to know that you can. I'm assuming you can. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Gavin. All right. Yeah. So now you've got all the power. Now, of course, from this is all of us. But when you are creating your Blackboard sessions, your Collaborate sessions, your students will by default be set as participants, and that's normally how you want it to stay for fairly obvious reasons, so they don't sabotage your online session, right? And then you'd be able to, for example, I could take Inez here, and I could make a presenter or make her back to being a participant, which her powers will now be removed. I want to get Joe, but they make participant for Roseanne. Okay, so I'm going to move you back there, and you'll see those options will. There we go. Start to disappear from your screen. Okay, make participant, and who am I missing? Gavin. There we go. Okay, and we're back to how we work. Right. You can control these defaults when you do set up the session, and you can also do it in session, which is where we'll kind of go into now. So those are some of the moderator controls. controls. The moderator controls as far as participants go, not as far as the whole session goes. Those will sit under, just to see where my mouse is, under my settings. Okay. So let me go there. Now I know yesterday, not yesterday, sorry, on Tuesday, I think, so you mentioned with regards to the pictures, okay, to edit your picture there, or avatar there. Under that as well, you've got these other session settings. Okay, so if I had to start maybe with session settings at the bottom, here you can see what can participants do, for example. Okay, so when I did made you a participant, I did allow you to have your audio on. If I took that off, you're not going to be able to say anything anymore. You might want to default your videos being off. And sometimes, you know, from a bandwidth perspective, if lots of students want to share the videos, I haven't come across that being a case yet. Normally they want to do the opposite. But you can force that cannot happen. We would allow you to post chat messages, and I allowed you there to draw on whiteboards and files. So if you want to be a little bit more strict on everyone and not give them any authority or power, you can take all of those off. Okay, but by default they are on. You would also be able to choose these settings when you set up the Collaborate section itself. So you don't have to wait until you're in here to be able to do that. You can do it beforehand. All right, and from here is also where I don't know, we're going fairly quick. I hope I'm not going too fast or anything, but we're kind of going more onto the last point now, where we're talking about the more technical issues, troubleshooting audio and video. Okay, because invariably there will be someone who'll say, you know, my mic isn't working, or I can't, you know, I can't connect to something, can't hear you properly, or I can't share my video. There's a number of things you could do, none of which might be more important than the other. But generally, you'll ask the students or to come here and go to their audio and video settings. And you have this option is normally a good starting point to set up your camera and microphone. Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me again? Sorry, I think yes. Okay. So
yeah.
I'm back. I imagine I'm back. I'm actually not really sure what happened there. Somewhere along the line of my audio explanation, I lost my own audio.
I think when you were testing or showing
I
them
think
testing.
it is. So
Yeah.
as long as we could see it and we could go back there, I'm actually quite curious if it does by default pick my audio off if I do that. Okay. But anyway, as long as you can hear me. But that's a case in point, a fairly good place then to start, as far as seeing if the audio works and selecting the input devices for that audio. The next screen on there would have also been the video to see if your webcam works. Okay. Then the other things that you could check as far as microphone volume, speaker volume, etc. These controls would be here. Of course, the system settings of your Windows machine might actually be superseding that, right? So just to bear in mind this, my speakers are forever changing when I start lecturing and going back. Okay, it's often selected onto something like the Epson smart projector speakers, and then I come back and I can't hear anything again. Okay, so just to be mindful of that too. All right, and other than that, okay, let me just close it from that side. I want to check if there was anything else to mention there. The last thing would be your notification settings. You normally don't need to really worry about anything here because by default they're quite fine. But you can control what you want notifications, sounds, and etc. to come up during a session. So, for example, when people now were telling me that my audio stopped working, I was receiving little, you know, ping pong sounds. That's fine, except for the fact that if you've got a very big group and your mic is on and you're talking and lots of people are messaging, it can become distracting. So you can also go here to mute and change your settings as well. Right. Sonia, is there anything else you'd like me to add or elaborate on in particular? So,
I think what we do is start looking at how maybe maybe we should ask how it from a mediation point of view. I mean, we looked at how it can be used, but let's maybe start looking at examples of mediations contexts. Or maybe we should look at rather getting the group to think of mediation contexts. So as a group, let's ask polling, how would you guys think of, so I'm bouncing it back to the group. As a group, let's look at the polling aspect. Besides asking for understanding, how else do you think we could use the polling tool?
We could even put into breakout groups. I don't know what you think.
Good idea. Each of you go into we're going to put them into breakout groups. And I want you to look at each of these tools and come up with scenarios of how these tools can be used in a mediation context. Okay.
All right, so I'll move everyone into the groups now.
Not me though.
How long should we give? Is it 5? Okay. Sorry. Terry, can I mute your mic for you?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just take it off. There we go. Okay, sorry, I can see a little bit of background noise. Okay, guys, yeah. The task itself being to how each of these tools, I did post it in the chat there, that the polling, breakout groups, whiteboard, sharing applications, timer, in any of those, how you would come up with a mediation context or something, a mediation. How would you use the tool in practice? And so, okay, we had 2 groups. I wonder if anyone then maybe from I don't know, Inez's group, or Inez, were you with Gavin, Terry? I don't know if one of you want to so what do you come up with in that sense as a mediation context?
So we discussed that we could actually put in different scenarios in the polling option, and then students can actually choose which scenario links with the specific theory. We also looked at giving them terms, and then they could fill in the right term for the specific definition. Gavin and Sayuri, want to add anything?
No, that's fine.
We obviously also looked at true and false as well.
It's quite an interesting one. I had this discussion a while back on campus about questioning, and polling actually came up quite a lot, because often we ask with a poll, do you understand, yes or no? Kind of the example I gave. But it doesn't really say much about what people really understand or what they don't. So it's fine maybe for getting some interaction, but it's not really going to be too useful when it comes to gauging real understanding. So like what you said, giving different categories, getting people maybe to vote on particular topics, or even asking them how much do they understand out of 5 or something, something along those lines that gives you a bit of a better idea. That it tends to work quite well in the online environments as well as in class. I know this is something that actually Penny did a bit of this as well. All right, guys, and yeah, anything else, or should we move on to who was in the other group? Was Susenza, Gavin, Joe? I don't know. Do you have Joe, Susenza, Gavin? Do you have any? Was there a leader in your group?
Roseanne,
Oh,
super
Roseanne,
background. Thanks. Yeah.
Ah,
It's fine.
yeah.
It's fine. So we said for something like a test or exam prep session, you could have questions like a who wants to be a millionaire, where students would have to, although you wouldn't be able to phone a friend, you would then get them to answer questions like a multiple choice type of thing. Hello?
Was that using polling as well?
Hello?
Was that you?
Yes,
Yeah.
using polling. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and for the others, yeah.
So for breakout groups, we said, so like with O and L, we could give a scenario to the group, maybe by sharing the screen first and then playing a video, or giving them a text-based scenario, and then the group needs to create a presentation, maybe a mind map or something, and then present it to the class after coming out of the group. The whiteboard could be used, you could make a mind map on it. And for psych, I do this quite a lot, is make a mind map with the main points and then get the class to flesh it out.
It's such a nice, I never thought of that, actually. So do you mean making everyone a presenter in the group and using the whiteboard and just telling them all to contribute
no,
and make a mind map, or how? Sorry?
No, but they wouldn't need to be presenters because they can still write on the whiteboard, surely, if they are participants.
Yeah, sorry, as long as they've got the right to do so. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah.
And then you can maybe take a screenshot of it and then send it to the class or put it up on Easy Learn, just for reference, because then you're getting them to actually interact and create their own knowledge bases.
That's actually a really nice idea. Have you done that on Blackboard itself before?
No, I haven't done that on Blackboard. The only problem is I didn't see a kind of the eraser. Obviously, you don't want everyone to erase what's on the screen. So they'd have to kind of, that would be a learning tool in and of itself. But they wouldn't be able to take away, I think, what they would have written.
Yes, yeah. The eraser is a bit irritating because it kind of cleans the whole screen. It doesn't.
It cleans the whole screen.
Yeah. Yes.
The bane of my life.
So it's a good
I
thing.
learned that the hard way.
I should have mentioned.
But yeah, so the mind map, I thought, we thought would be good. Sorry.
No, that's actually, I'm going to steal that. I think because it is an interesting idea. But as you said, yeah, that eraser doesn't really lend itself very nicely to that type of activity. But I don't know if there's any way around that. From the, I'm trying to think, from the other group, was there anything with regards to whiteboards and other stuff? Did you focus on polling only?
Sorry, Grant, I misunderstood the question. I thought we were only focusing on polling, so I just spoke about that. Spoke about the breakout groups in our group, and we spoke about bringing content to life because students can share their own content within that group. So we thought of that, and then for the whiteboard, funny enough, we also spoke about a mind map. So me and our groups were on the same mind path there with using mind maps for the whiteboard. And then we also said for sharing applications, we said that it's to extend or explore knowledge further or content further. And then we didn't have time to look at the timer, but that would obviously be to control how breakout groups would go. Or if you want to discuss a certain topic, you don't go over time in the session.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think it's, no, we only had what was it, 10 minutes or something like this to go through it, so it's understandable. But the Joe as well, you mentioned true false theory. What maybe I don't know if I'm being dwarfed. What does that relate to? You mentioned in the chat.
That was just before we went into the group. For polling, we just use true and false questions.
Just generally to engage.
Go true, false, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from your perspective, because you're listening, and you're listening to me or the presenter speaking, and when you do get asked something, it does make quite a difference, doesn't it? You kind of think, oh my word, it's actually a bit interesting now.
Yes, no, it draws your attention back into the space, especially if there's been a lot of talking going on, and then you jump back in for the poll.
Yeah, because I see with a lot of the lecturers who start doing this for the first time, they talk a lot. They talk, I mean, for an hour, and there's very little engagement in the other way. And I think just to be aware of the value of it, even just a simple yes/no poll, it can make a really big difference to wanting to join the session. At least that's what I think, and I hope it is the same for you as well. Are there any other questions or things that are uncertain? Is everything clear from what we've covered so far? Of course, the recording and that we'll try and make available.
Thanks, Grant. Really helpful.
Okay. Thanks, Ines. Sonia?
Yeah, I agree with Ines. It's really just brought everything. I mean, it's things that I've known, but it's really just brought everything closer together and more cohesive for me. So thank you very much.
Good. I'm glad this has helped. What's going to happen is Grant, Joe, and I are going to now tailor our PowerPoints and sort of add in what we've learned from our training that we've learned, and just fix our PowerPoints. And then we're going to add that into the content collection of this session. So you'll find it in the VC Collab org content collection. We will make the URLs available once we've finished the Grant, you want to just end the recording? We'll make the URLs available